welcome to the Daily English News program on Azərbaycan Televiziya with the major developments of the day. I'm İlham. As a result of the 44-day war, Azerbaijan liberated its territories from the occupation. However, some European countries are still jealous and trying to stir up a new hotbed of conflict in Karabakh. The growing number of accusatory articles against Azerbaijan and Turkey and the German media, which have taken a more active position in this process, many unreasonable questions raised in general, are designed to transform the processes in the South Caucasus.
The constant pro-Armenian position of some Western countries led by Germany during the Patriotic War can be considered a real expression of the traditional double standards of the West. However, continuing criticism of Azerbaijan and Turkey even after the transition to the post-war period shows that official Berlin as well as ultra-national circles in Germany are pursuing long-term goals. By touching on some of them, it's possible to clarify the new priorities of German politics. Let's start with the fact that since the beginning of the Second Karabakh War, from the official circles of this influential European state to organizations sympathetic with the compatriots of Qaragin, a sort of a campaign to support the demagogy of the so-called war against Christians in Karabakh has begun, which can be considered a confirmation of the fact that how certain circles got to great lengths to change the situation in favor of Armenia. The call of German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas in October last year for a ceasefire and putting pressure on Azerbaijan does not raise any doubts that it is aimed at preventing the strengthening of Turkey in the region, thereby stopping military operations begun by official Baku, aimed to putting an end to 30 years of occupation. Unable to achieve their goals, the Germans continue to apply double standards. It's noteworthy that they are not part of the diplomatic corps visiting the region to study the restoration of Karabakh, the current situation in the region, the scale of acts of vandalism committed by Armenians, and the consistent attacks on Azerbaijan, groundless accusations against our country organized even today by the German media are absolutely incomprehensible. However, the scenario is based not only on military statements or the fact of arms supplies. Under the blessing of Berlin, human rights in Azerbaijan, gender problems and other factors that are not specific for Eastern countries are exaggerated, which are transferred to the German press and create an anti-democratic image of Azerbaijan. For example, clinging to the Istanbul Convention, which was opened by the Council of Europe in 2011 for signing the resolution, the Germans, accusing Azerbaijan and Russia of not ratifying this document, are trying to create an opinion that our country allegedly has problems in the field of human rights. Here, we would like to draw your attention to a few facts on the current human rights situation in Germany itself. So according to the statistics of the European Court of Human Rights released these days, in 2020, the court received 188 complaints from Germany, of which only 3 were rejected. The decisions taken indicate a violation of at least one article of the convention. The main complaint of the Germans is the violation of the right to a safe life. Other statistics. In Germany, every 3 days, one woman becomes a victim of violence. In general, 141,000 cases of domestic violence are registered during the year, of which 81% fall on the share of women. In other words, in Germany, a woman is abused on average every 45 minutes. The opening in 2021 of the 7th women's shelter in Germany, with a population of more than 80 million, brings complete clarity to the human rights situation in this country. The demands put forward by Western states and most of all by Germany during the migration crisis due to the events in Syria, inhuman behavior towards migrants are not a question of the distant past. If we add to this the call of the European Commissioner for Human Rights in 2019 made to Germany to be more fair on the issue of deportation of migrants and to end the persecutions of NGOs helping refugees, then it becomes very clear what the essence of German democracy is. Another fact, since 2017, deputies of the Landtags of a number of federal states of Germany, as well as the Bundestag and the European Parliament from the Alternative for Germany party, have often made illegal trips to the occupied territories. Representatives of the Alternative for Germany faction in the German parliament met in 2018 in Berlin with the so-called deputies of the separatist regime and invited them to the elections to the legislative body of the federal land of Brandenburg. And this means that the ultra-right party of Germany with a Nazi bias, with which the Armenian authorities, turning Jde's fascist ideas into a motto, came into contact, should be regarded as a serious threat not only for Europe but also for the Karabakh region. The emergence of such a Nazi movement as Pegida in Germany and its choice of Muslims as a target also allows us to draw certain conclusions about what insidious goals are pursued by the articles published in the German press today.
On March 29th, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Azerbaijan, Ceyhun Bayramov, has been received by the President of the Republic of Tajikistan, Emomali Rahmon. During the meeting, issues on the comprehensive development of the bilateral relations existing between Azerbaijan and Tajikistan was discussed. Remembering with satisfaction his visit to Azerbaijan, President of Tajikistan, Emomali Rahmon, emphasized the country's development in recent years. He invited the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, İlham, to pay an official visit to Tajikistan. Highly appreciating Azerbaijan's assistance to Tajikistan in the fight against COVID-19, the President of Tajikistan emphasized that Azerbaijan had created a special condition for transit cargo of goods of Tajikistan during this pandemic, and he extended gratitude to Azerbaijan's side in this regard. Ceyhun Bayramov thanked the President of Tajikistan for the reception and conveyed the sincere greetings of the President of Azerbaijan. The minister briefed on the current situation in the region, including the destruction caused by Armenia in the liberated territories of Azerbaijan, the damage to Azerbaijan's historical and cultural heritage, as well as the work done by the Azerbaijani government to rebuild and restore these territories. A service meeting was held at the Central Command Post under the leadership of Azerbaijan's Defense Ministry. Speaking about the organization of service in the liberated territories, Zakir Hasanov informed the meeting participants about the instructions of the President of Azerbaijan, Commander-in-Chief of Armed Forces, İlham, and the tasks ahead. The minister instructed to focus on improving the level of training of personnel and the combat capability of units, the quality of training and combat training conducted in military units, especially in the units deployed in the liberated territories, taking into account the experience of the Patriotic War. Importance of ensuring the safety and health of the personnel of Azerbaijani army, increasing its moral and psychological training, as well as strengthening military discipline, was stressed. Zakir Hasanov also gave specific instructions for the development of military infrastructure in the liberated territories, carrying out engineering works and measures for engineering support of troops, increasing the vigilance of military personnel entering combat duty, as well as first improving the logistical support and equipment of the units. 27 more veterans of the Patriotic War who were seriously injured were sent to Turkey by the Yaşam Fund. The corresponding examination, treatment and rehabilitation process of our veterans brought from Turkey to our country by the Yaşam Fund will continue in Turkey. Earlier, 24 of our veterans were sent to Turkey for treatment by the fund. The treatment procedure of 4 of them has already been successfully completed and will return home. Leaders of religious confessions in Azerbaijan appealed to world religious leaders in connection with the genocide of Azerbaijanis on March 31st. The appeal states that in 1905 and 1918, Armenian extremists committed a massacre against Azerbaijanis in Baku and the regions. Tens of thousands of civilians were killed. Settlements, historical and cultural monuments, mosques, churches and synagogues were destroyed. The policy of genocide and deportation of Azerbaijanis continued in subsequent periods. Having committed acts of vandalism in the occupied Azerbaijani territories, Armenia destroyed thousands of historical, religious, cultural monuments, installed our sanctuaries and cemeteries, and falsified Islamic, Christian and Jewish temples. The leaders of the religious confessions of Azerbaijan called on the world religious leaders, parliaments, international organizations to give a political and legal assessment of the massacre committed by the Armenian extremists against the Azerbaijani people, to recognize these crimes as an act of genocide. 1,129 infections with the novel coronavirus were registered in Azerbaijan. 349 people recovered after treatment and were released home. 22 people have died after testing positive for COVID-19. The overall confirmed cases in Azerbaijan have reached 257,330, with 236,500 recoveries and 3,513 deaths. The number of active infections is 17,317. To detect infection cases, overall 2,844,674 tests have been conducted in Azerbaijan. The task force under the Cabinet of Ministers reported. That was all for the day. Thank you for being with us. Goodbye.